out more. Now, September marks Suicide Prevention Month, and while that is a heavy topic, the Mississippi Department of Mental Health says each death by suicide is one too many, and I would agree. So if we can help raise awareness today on good things, I think that is, well, a good thing. Joining us today is Suicide Prevention Director at the Department of Mental Health, Miss JaQuila Newsome. Hey, JaQuila.
Hey, how are you, Rebecca? Thank you for having me.
I would hate to say I'm not necessarily happy to have you here because it's a really tough topic, but I am glad that there are resources available and awareness being raised around the topic of suicide prevention. So from y'all's perspective, are y'all seeing a rise in more Mississippians calling for help or resources?
Yes, we are seeing an increase in calls. Our Mississippi Call Center for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline has experienced a 33% increase in calls just from the last year. And also the Mississippi Department of Mental Health Helpline has experienced a 30% increase in calls over the last year.
Now, I know you're not going to give away someone's personal information for those calls, but what are the primary, concerns? Is it someone just asking help for a loved one? Is it someone who's just found themselves at rock bottom and needs someone to talk to? Is it kind of everywhere in between?
Yes, it's a combination of really everything that you've listed. A lot of Mississippians at this point are just reaching out. They're wanting help, wanting to know what resources are available, how can they access those resources, or simply just to talk to someone about what struggle they may be dealing with at that time.
Because let's face it, sometimes if we're at our lowest point, reaching out to friends and family doesn't always feel comfortable or right. Sometimes you need that third party just to have, no context of who you are or who you're associated with, just to be able to call and be anonymous, I think is the word I'm looking for, JaQuila, and, share your concerns. And so it's good to know that those resources are available. What's some of the sobering statistics when it comes to death by suicide here in Mississippi that maybe we need to be awakened to?
Okay, here in our state, just alone in 2019, which is the most recent available data provided by the Mississippi Department of Health, there were 436 Mississippians that died by suicide in 2019, and that is an increase from 2018. Now, in 2018, there were 422. So, again, as you mentioned earlier, any death by suicide, any loss is something that we want to avoid and make sure we educate, individuals in our community about available resources.
So what are some of those available resources, JaQuila? If someone's listening to good things, maybe it's not themselves, but it's a loved one they know that's been struggling. I mean, what are those, life rafts that you have available to throw to someone who feels that they're wrestling with suicidal ideations? Okay.
We have our National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. You can also simply text HOME, HOME, to our crisis text line at 741-741. Someone is available to help 24 hours, 7 days a week on those numbers. Also, we have what we use here in the state of Mississippi. We have at the Department of Mental Health a campaign that we use called Shatter the Silence, Suicide, the Secret You Shouldn't Keep. And in that campaign, we provide information about suicide prevention, what available resources are available, how to help someone who may be struggling with thoughts of suicide. You can download that app. It's absolutely free at Google Play or Apple iTunes Store. And that app provides all of the information concerning warning signs as well as risk factors for someone who may be struggling with suicidal thoughts.
I like that phrase, secrets you shouldn't keep, JaQuila, because I feel like, particularly in teens and younger adults, there are friends in their tight circle who may know or suspect, but they don't want to share with maybe an adult who could help, or a teacher or a coach, just out of like that, friend code or whatever it may be. But this is one of those secrets that just shouldn't be kept. You just never know when you're speaking up for your friend or maybe speaking up for yourself could end in a positive manner. So what are some of the tools or I guess, information to give for people to just want to start that conversation?
I think the biggest concern is basically having a conversation that encourages that person to get help. Don't be so quick to make the individual feel bad. Encourage them and let them know that it's okay. Be supportive. Let them know that those resources are out there that could help them and it, could save a life. So be encouraging.
Be encouraging. And I think, again, just starting that sort of conversation, which I think we're trying to do here on Good Things with you, JaQuila, just letting people know there are resources out there. It is an issue. It's an odd one to talk about. It's not like you're just going to take your loved one out for coffee or your kids, to get their favorite meal and then just bring up suicide. But then again, I guess there are red flags that can at least warn us that maybe we have a friend or family member struggling. What are some of the red flags that maybe we should be having harder conversations?
Some of the warning signs to look for, it could be talking about feeling worthless or helpless. It also could include posting things online through social media, a loss in interest in daily activities, using or increase in drugs or alcohol, a change in eating or sleeping habits, and that could be increase in sleeping or decrease in eating and sleeping habits, as well as just a change in what's considered normal behavior for that individual. And yes, suicide is an uncomfortable discussion to have, but in order to normalize suicide and talk about it, sometimes we have to step out of what's considered our comfort zone and learn more about it and educate ourselves more about the topic.
So you mentioned a few resources. I want to make sure we round back to JaQuila, which was the text home to the crisis line, which is what?
The simply text HOME, HOME, to the crisis text line at 741-741.
And what will that do?
When you text that line and you text HOME, you can have a conversation with staff that has been trained. It could be a mental health therapist that has been trained on how to help you deal with whatever crisis you're going through. That could be connecting you with our local crisis text team, our local crisis team to respond to the crisis, or they could also assist with any kind of inpatient or outpatient referral process.
So this is cool. So this would be really good for teens or maybe even for those that you don't want to pick up the phone and actually have to call somebody, because that's a big step to sort of say the words out loud. Maybe it's easier to text the words. It feels a little less intimidating to have that kind of communication, but you're still breaking the silence of what you're struggling with. Can you also text for help for a friend if needed?
Yes, you can, and that the person that's on call, that staff, they will respond and give you guidance on how to help that friend and provide service for them.
Well, there's so much good information. Is there a website where we can go and find it all, JaQuila?
Yes, you can actually go to our mentalhealthmississippi.com website. It's mentalhealthms.com, and all of those available resources are on that site.
And I know you can also download, you mentioned the free app on Google Play or Apple iTunes, which is Shatter the Silence. And so that just provides all of that information for individuals?
Yes, you will also be able to find that information on the Shatter the Silence app. And again, it has the warning signs and the risk factors for suicide as well as resources to help.
And I know September does mark Suicide Prevention Month, but I know that's not the only mental health issue that you guys there at the Department of Mental Health helps with. So what else or what other kind of services, if someone just knows that maybe their mental health isn't in the best state right now, that you guys offer?
It also could be we can assist with referrals out for drug and alcohol services, as well as intellectual and development disabilities.
All righty. Well, so many good things that you guys are doing there. JaQuila, I appreciate your time here on Good Things and continuing to raise important awareness for a topic that, isn't fun to talk about, but it needs to, right? We're shattering the silence.
Exactly. Breaking stigma.
Breaking stigma. That's what we're doing here. Well, I appreciate your time, and I hope those that need the resources will take the time to go to that website, which is mentalhealthms.com. But you guys stick with us. We got more.